Here we have a SAT math problem. Okay, let's go to the question. A right circular cylinder has a height that is 4 inches less than its radius. If the cylinder surface area is 896 pi square inches, what is its radius in inches? Okay, using the given information, we have to find the radius of the cylinder. Okay, so we have the first information about the height and radius. That is, the height is 4 inches less than its radius. That is, h equals to r negative 4. And also we have the surface area of the cylinder. Surface area means that is total surface area of the cylinder, that is equal to 896 pi. Okay, here we have the formula to get total surface area of a cylinder, that is 2 pi r times h positive r. So this is the formula to get surface area, total surface area of a cylinder. So it is equal to 896 pi. Okay, now what we can do is we can divide both sides of this equation by 2 pi to simplify. So let me divide both sides of this equation by 2 pi. When I do so, this 5 pi will cancel. 2 goes into 2 one times and 2 goes into 896 or 448 times. Okay, here this 2 pi and 2 pi will cancel. I am getting r times h positive r equals to 448. Okay, already we know that h equals to r negative 4. That is, height is 4 inches less than r. So since we have to solve for radius, that is r, we will have to plug in this r negative 4 for h over here. Then I am getting r times r negative 4 a positive r equals to 448. Okay, let me continue over here. R times, when I combine this r and r, I am getting 2r negative 4 equals to 448. Okay, now we can distribute this 2r to this 2r and negative 4. When I multiply this r and 2r, I am getting 2r square. When I multiply this r and negative 4, I am getting negative 4r equals to 448. Okay, here we have a quadratic equation in R. Let's get this one in standard form. Standard form means we must have everything on one side of the equation and the other side 0. Okay, now let's make the right side 0. For that we have to subtract 448 from both sides of the equation. Let me do it. When I do so, this positive value, negative value will cancel. I am getting 2r square, negative 4r, negative 448 equals to 0. Okay, when I look at the coefficient of r square, the coefficient of r, the constant term, everything is a multiple of 2. So better we can divide each term of this quadratic equation by 2 to make the number smaller. Okay, let me divide this one by 2, this one by 2, this one by 2, and this one by 2. Okay, here this 2 will cancel out. I am getting r square negative. When I divide 4r by 2, I am getting 2r. And also when I divide this 448 by 2, I am getting 224. When I divide this 0 by 2, I am getting 0. Okay, here we have a quadratic equation in standard form in terms of the radius, that is r. Okay, so here we have some bigger number as a constant. If I try to solve it by factoring, so I'm out to get, I'm out to do it by trial and error. Since it's a digital SAT, we can use Desmos graphing calculator to solve for r in this quadratic equation. Okay, now let's go to Desmos graphing calculator. Here we have Desmos graphing calculator. Now we can solve for r in this quadratic equation. For that, we have to give this equation as input. When I give this equation as input, instead of r over here, I have to give x. Because here we have xy plane. Since we have xy plane, we can replace this r by x. And once we get the values for x, it can be considered as a value for r over here. That is the radius of the cylinder. Okay, now let me give this equation as input by replacing r by x. That is, instead of r square, we have to type x square. Negative, instead of 2r, we have to type 2x, negative 224 equals to 0. Okay, here I got the graph, and the graph intersects the x-axis at 2 points. One is negative 14, 0. It's over here. Let me mark it. And the other x-intercept is over here, that is 16, 0. Okay, at these two x-intercepts, we have to consider the x-coordinates, that is negative 14 and 16. But here, instead of r, we have taken x. So the values we get for x over here, negative 14 and 16, can be considered as the values for r over in this quadratic equation, that is r equals to negative 14 and r equals to 16. Okay, here r represents the radius of the cylinder. Radius of the cylinder can never be a negative value. So we can ignore this negative value of r. We can consider the positive value of r. That is 16 is the value of r. Okay, now we can go to the original question. Here we have the original question. In Desmos graphing calculator, we got the value of r, that is r equals to 16. Actually, r represents the radius of the cylinder. So that is the radius of the cylinder is 16 inches. And we find this 16 in answer choice C. The correct answer choice for this question is C.